Hi everyone, Inna Malaia is here and I'm very happy and glad to welcome to this live session Meggi, who is the career strategy advisor and been speaker for the Bevel ON capacity building program. And this is the professional who has changed their careers across different industries and different settings and sectors. And we will be talking today about the skills transfer because this is what Meggi did plenty of times and what she is teaching today and helping other professionals to succeed. Welcome, Meggi.
Thank you, Ina. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's fantastic to have you. I know that you have the wisdom and the skills and the experiences on how to navigate the career again through the transferable skills. What is the transferable skills?
So transferable skills are basically skills that you can transfer. No, so joking aside, it's basically skills that serve you in one role or one job that can serve you in another role, in another industry, in another job. So it's really the kind of skills that go across your current job description.
Okay, how does it work? Imagine I'm the career professional in the career transition. How should I start managing my skills and how should I transfer it across industries?
So it really starts with getting clear what your skills are or what your assets are. So when you do that, to really look at everything you've done, so of course there are probably some obvious ones that come to mind. I think you were in marketing at some point, so probably your first thing would be you're like a marketing person. But then there might be many other skills and experiences that are attached to that. So you might also be good in project management. You're a mom, so you're probably also good in running schedules. So really look at all the different skills that you had in your life that could be valid in your current job. It could be valid if you move up or down or sideways. So kind of getting clear on the technical skills and also on the softer skills. There's this whole notion of the 21st century skills, and then also the World Economic Forum publishes every year a future of work report. And they talk about also the skills they see coming up in the future, which could also be skills such as AI literacy and these type of things, to really think about it a bit broader. And then, as already said, to also think about other walks of your life, like what you do in your hobby, in your family, that might also have some skills that you could actually also use in the workplace.
I think in my particular case, being Ukrainian is the skill in terms of building the resilience, right? But you are absolutely right. I'm just reflecting on my career and how I shifted from the private sector into entrepreneurship, from the corporate career into entrepreneurship. Actually, the first question I asked myself when I was made redundant, the first question I asked myself, like, what can I do? What is my biggest professional asset? And I was working for many, many years in strategic marketing and brand management. And then I said, can I create new product or new service, or can I create new company, right? And then I started reflecting what are the values, what are the capabilities, what are the character strengths, etc. Tell us your experience from, again, shifting from industry to industry. You've been in the private and public sector, and you're advising a lot of people. What was your story? How did you transfer your own skills into the new jobs?
Sure. So actually, I think, transfer can happen in many ways. As you mentioned, it can happen from employed work to entrepreneurship. It can also happen to transfer one sector to the other sector, but also even within a company. So let's start there. When I was working for Procter & Gamble, I was working in marketing for fine fragrances. And but that's kind of the niche bit of P&G. So I wanted to get to the core of P&G. And then actually one of my managers at the time advised to not change too many things at the same time. So I ended up moving from marketing fine fragrances to marketing for feminine hygiene in a different region. And then of course the obvious skill I transferred was marketing skills. So just to even say, even within an organization, you could transfer, or when you get promoted, there are certain things you might bring with you, but also some new things to do. Now, when I made my big move from the private sector to the NGO, to the humanitarian sector, indeed there, I was actually dreaming to work on operational partnerships right from the get-go. And that was just too big of a jump. So I figured out that I had skills around strategic thinking, around project management, but also around marketing. And the closest move was into fundraising, because I mean, fundraising is kind of same, but different. So that helped me to make that move. But then those skills of strategic thinking and project management helped me later to move around within the ICRC, within the Red Cross, to get to a place where I'm working more, or where I used to work more on operational partnerships closer to the humanitarian impact. But that took me 2 steps. That wasn't an immediate step in my career.
And I found very interesting what you said, and I never reflected about that, what you said in terms of analyzing also what are the private skills we have and how we manage life, right? How does it work? Again, I never thought about that. Mostly my thinking was in terms of the composition of the CV or the profile within the professional experience we built. And you're absolutely right on the future of work, where I'm going. Do I have enough of skills to get into the job for the future? Or when I built my business, I did the again in the analysis, do I have enough of skills that would fit the strategy of my business? And I did not. So I did a lot of studies for that while processing the business. How should the normal candidate for the job analyze the personal aspect of soft skills and how to make this transfer from personal to professional life?
So I hadn't thought about, I mean, I recommend that to people all the time, but I actually hadn't self-reflected yet. So you just made me self-reflect on the spot. You know, and I'm also a huge fan to look at transfer from particularly sports into professional work. So let me give you 2 examples. And that's not necessarily only soft skills. So 2 examples how it worked for me. One is running. So I've run multiple half marathons, and I have run one, and probably my one and only full marathon. And running a marathon is basically project management, you know, because you don't run a marathon overnight. You know, it's endurance, it's showing up every day. So, you know, there's a lot you can learn in terms of skills from planning for half a year at an average fitness level at best to actually managing to complete 41 kilometers, 42, whatever it was. So that's one. The other one, which, you know, I think it's also in interviews actually also good to bring these examples because they're interesting, they're unique, they make a difference. So the other one is horse riding. So this is my big life passion. And I think one thing I learned from horse riding, it has to do with presence and self-confidence, because horses are amazing animals. They basically mirror your emotions. So if you're unsure, if you're scared, they get unsure and scared, and they mirror that immediately. So just by working with horses, I had to be calm and composed and confident working with horses. And I think that helped me then to transfer that to work. And yeah, I'm sure there are plenty. And if also listeners start thinking about what they're doing, I'm sure they would come up with some interesting stories, how their passions and hobbies and home life actually could be transferred.
Okay. And then how do you describe it in the CV?
In the CV, that's a good point. I think I have a section about passions on the CV, so I don't really flush those out in the CV, but that's the ones I would bring to the interviews. You know, when you have an interesting example, when you want to stand out a little bit, and you also, depending on how the conversation goes, you know, if that's something that seems appropriate, you can pull out one or the other example depending on what the topic is.
Because actually, when we work with the candidates and displaced professionals in Bevel ON capacity building program, when we are working on their CVs, we always see this part on hobbies, on favorite things to do, right? And there are things that sometimes it comes like, why did you place that things there? And who cares that you play tennis or you do fishing or you like reading, etc. But in the way, well, and there are still plenty of these things that would be unnecessary to place in the CV. But if you show something that really displays the character strengths and how you position yourself in the corporate environment based on the things you love, where your flow comes from, that for the recruiter, I do agree with you, might be the winning point on understanding who you are as the personality. And thank you for sharing about your hobbies and where your skills transfer from the private life goes. That made me think I'm the dancer. I was dancing since the age of 6 years old, so I was always on the stage, right? And then place me somewhere in the space where I'm alone and not being able to perform would be the disaster. So I think in my profile, the HR would know that this is the public speaking and the public presence and the influence that could come as the skill, right? So very simple things, and I'm very grateful for you for sharing that, because these live sessions we are running is to provoke thinking, to see what else people are looking for the job. There are more people in the job market than the jobs as such. And this battlefield, in a way, became very competitive. And we need to invent new things. We need to, again, drive our creative thinking, which is one of the skills for the future of work, right? To innovate and to be outstanding in the job market. What would be your one piece of advice after watching this live with us? Your one piece of advice for people to be cautious about or more creative about in terms of skills transfer?
You know, listening to you, I was like, there's one more thing I want to say, so thank you. You know, it's actually a book I recently read and I recommend it now to everybody. It's written by the two founders of LinkedIn. It's called The Startup of You. There's a lot of, let's say, general knowledge that you've probably read in other books, but the one thing that I really like about it is they talk about this magic formula of your mix of skills. And what they mean by that is, you know, you don't have to be the best project manager in the world, and you don't have to be the best dancer in the world. But you know what you makes you uniquely Inna is that you have a marketing background, you're an entrepreneur, you're Ukrainian, you have a lot of passion, and you used to be a dancer, so you're happy on stage. That makes you, that's your magic formula. So we all have our own magic formulas. So it's really the mix of all the things you're good at, and it's not necessarily the one thing you're the best at. So I would invite listeners to look for that magic formula, to the one thing that makes them really unique. And that's how they can then also stand out in job interviews and application processes.
Fabulous. And just to announce to everyone, Meggi is one of the guest speakers and coaches on the Bevel ON capacity building program, where we provide community support, again, upskilling, career strategy, and entrepreneurship skills for people who are in life and career transition. And in a couple of days, Meggi will be talking there on the full workshop on the transferable skills, and we will make it open for the external audience to learn from her rich experience, wealth of knowledge on how actually you can improve your position in the market and be outstanding candidate for the dream job you are looking for. And if we can help you of finding that magic path to the dream job where you sense your flow and accomplishment, myself, Meggi, and the Bevel On team, we would be more than happy to do so. You know where to find us. Drop the message, comment, and my team will be there for you. Meggi, thank you so much for the insights today.
My pleasure being here. Thanks so much.